and welcome back to another video. So today we've got a third-party Sony E-mount lens from a company that many of you are probably familiar with, Viltrox. I don't know about you, but when I hear that name, what comes to mind is cheaper, lower quality camera accessories. However, that's not the case at all with this lens, both in quality and in price, as this lens will set you back $350, and you can also check it out through the link in the description. Also, this entire talking head portion is being shot with the Viltrox with autofocus turned on, so pay attention and to see how it does. And let me know down in the comments what you would use a lens like this for, and what you're most impressed and what you're most disappointed with when it comes to this lens. Anyways, so this is a 23mm lens. I don't know why they chose this odd focal length, but I think it's because it translates really close to 35mm. Anyways, moving on. It's a 23mm lens, f1.4, which is a super bright aperture, which is always nice for those blurry backgrounds in low light scenarios. But let's see what you can expect when you buy this lens. In the box, we have the lens itself that appears to be made 100% out of aluminum, which is great for durability. It's fairly compact, and it's not heavy at all for an all-metal lens. You get a lens hood, which is also completely made out of aluminum, and which is surprising because these are mostly made out of plastic. I mean, almost every single one that comes with a Sony lens is plastic. Anyways, you get a protective case to keep it looking good during storage and transportation. It's an autofocus lens, and it has got both a focus ring and a declicked aperture ring, which is a neat feature that you don't see on many lenses. You can turn the aperture ring all the way to the right to allow the camera to control the aperture automatically if you want. The ring does sound like it scrubs a little on the body, which takes away from the premium feel that they were going for. See, it just doesn't sound great. And the gold lettering here I think looks cheesy, but other than that, this lens feels great and is compact enough that it stays out of the way. This is an APS-C lens only, which doesn't mean you can't mount it on a full-frame E-mount camera. It just means that there might be some vignetting, which in this case is very severe vignetting. So much so that there really isn't any point to using it without turning on the APS-C crop mode on full-frame cameras, which you got to consider. If you're using an A7R level camera, then you're still going to get nearly 20 megapixels of resolution out of it. However, if you're using an A7S camera, you're going to get like 5 megapixels? It's not much. I need to check that. Number's right here. That's how many megapixels. Anyways, let's jump back to the fact that this is a fully automatic lens, so you don't have to worry about focusing and choosing the aperture manually if you don't want to. But the really surprising part is just how stinking good third-party lenses have gotten when it comes to autofocus on Sony bodies. You get lightning fast autofocus, eye autofocus, which means it'll find the eye of a person or even an animal in a picture and focus right on it, which is what you're trying to focus on, the eyes. They look at you, you look at them. And you get continuous focus in both photo and video modes. I mean, look at this. It's unbelievably fast for being Viltrox, which, again, it's what I hear. Viltrox, cheap plastic accessories. That's still in my mind. I can't get it out. It's also pretty accurate as well, with a little bit of an issue with grabbing accurate focus in super low light. When I say grabbing accurate focus, it'll say that it's focused, but it won't be focused properly and you'll end up with slightly out of focus pictures. However, it wasn't a debilitating problem. Most of the pictures I took turned out great. Alright, so far it's looking reasonably good for $350, but how do the pictures look? Well, let's take a peek. This lens very much has the same vibe as the Sigma 16mm 1.4 has, with it being a more wide-angle lens with a real shallow depth of field, which has got a cool kind of aesthetic to it, and I like it. But this lens having a slightly longer focal length gives you the full-frame equivalent of a 35mm lens, 34.5 if you really want to get picky, whatever. Great run-and-gun focal length allows you to capture a wide variety of images without having to be limited by too narrow or too wide a field of view. So you can plug this fairly small lens onto your body and just camera body and just cruise around town. It stays out of the way, it's low profile, and you can shoot anything you want with it basically. Shooting pictures wide open at f1.4 produces mostly great images, and when I say that, when you're shooting between 3 and 10 or 15 feet with your subject, you'll get like really good pictures. If you get too close to minimum focus or too much to infinity focus, You end up with some fringing and chromatic aberration that's exacerbated on the close focus side by the paper thin depth of field. Anything out of focus kind of has that purpley fringe on it. And it's the same thing at infinity focus. You can see some examples here of it. So it's not terrible, but it's not great. But if you do stop this thing down to f2 or f2.8, it's razor sharp. I mean, super sharp and a very clean image too. None of that fringing to speak of. Stopping down further improves slightly, but it's just very sharp. That's all there is to it. The backgrounds look smooth enough for the most part. Occasionally I noticed some soap bubble bokeh, but it was only on a couple of shots. Might have been the lighting. I did find that when I mounted it on my A7 III, it tended to overexpose by about one full stop. But I didn't have the same issue with my A6500. I'm not sure what that's about, but it's worth noting. I didn't shoot tons of video with this lens, but it did seem to do a pretty good job, and it produced that look, the wide angle, shallow depth of field look, that nice blurry background, made for some nice creamy looking slow-mo B-roll kind of shots. I mean, it looks nice. So how's it do with vlogging though? Well, the field of view is kind of tight, but not too bad. The background is definitely blurry. So it's kind of one of those weird lenses. Could you use it? Absolutely. Are there better lenses out there? Probably, definitely. All right, but who's this lens for then? Well, I think that if you're looking for a portable prime lens with a middle-of-the-road focal length, lightning fast aperture, and autofocus, then for your run and gun shooting, this lens checks all those boxes and does a good job with it too. So there you have it, folks. The Viltrox name being redeemed slightly by their new 23mm f1.4. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Also, when you're down there, don't forget to hit that like button as well as subscribe. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. I don't ever actually leave. There's just a wall there. See ya.